Um, I'm Jan Adams, as Thelma said, and co-owner of DC Power Football Club, which is the newest women's soccer team in the DMV. And I'm a very proud honorary board member of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. So I'm sending my heartfelt appreciation to each of you for being here this evening and for your commitment to advocacy, education, and community uplift. I believe deeply in the power of collective action, especially when it comes to supporting those impacted by breast cancer. And we've all been touched or affiliated or lived ourselves through um, breast cancer and other types of cancer. But I've got my best girlfriend passed away several years ago from it. And so we've all been touched in some way, shape, or form. But as many of you know, I've long championed causes that strengthen families, that empower women, and that improve health outcomes across our communities. My support of this evening's program reflects not only my philanthropic spirit, but also my unwavering belief that access to knowledge and resources can save lives. I'm particularly honored to stand with the National Consortium of Breast Centers, whose leadership, expertise, and dedication play a vital role in advancing breast health nationally. I also want to extend my congratulations and sincere gratitude to Thelma D. Jones for her steadfast leadership and to the board, to Emcee Jones, all the volunteers and all the partners who work and whose work makes gatherings like this possible. Thelma often says that advocacy is not a one-time act, it's a continuous commitment. And tonight's program embodies that principle beautifully. And while I cannot join you in person and I won't be able to stay on the call for too long, please know that I stand firmly with all of you in the fight against breast cancer. And I encourage everyone here to please stay engaged, please stay informed, and continue to support the work that uplifts survivors, caregivers, and families. So thank you for your time, and please enjoy the program.
Thank you so much, Jan. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate the sponsorship that you are providing, not only in this meeting, but in a number of other capacities that you have worked with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. And I wanted to share with Kimberly, who is the Executive Director of NCBC, and Sylvia, that I got to know Janelle Ross, that I've connected NCBC with Janelle Ross, who I understand will be attending our conference in Cleveland, March the 27th, for 3 or 4 days. So this is how people like Jan not only have a number of irons in the fire, she is forever sharing her vast network with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund so that I can share it with people in organizations like NCBC. And for those of you who are not familiar with Janelle Ross, she is the first African-American dealership owner of a Mercedes-Benz. And she owns Bob Ross Auto Dealers, and it's outside of Dayton, Ohio. And believe it or not, Janelle and I are literally like two sisters. And by the way, Robonetta, she's an AKA. Janelle and I, thanks to Jan and her daughter, Miss Myers, Ronette Myers is Jan's daughter. I've developed an excellent relationship with Janelle, communicated with her probably more than 100 times. And Janelle and I have only met on Zoom. So the fact that our conference, the NCBC conference, is in Cleveland, Ohio, I will not leave Cleveland until I have personally met Janelle and hopefully visit Bob Ross Otto. So thank you. And at this point, Sergio, if we are okay with the technology, I will turn it over to our MC. And normally we just allow the MC to start out talking, but because she is such a special friend, like all of you are, and a daughter to my high school classmate, can you believe that you still have friends all the way back to high school? So I graduated with the class of 1970, and I'll allow you to do the math on my beautiful age. But our MC is Robonetta B. Jones, Esquire, who is a licensed North Carolina attorney and the owner of the law offices of Robonetta B. Jones, PLLC in Raleigh, North Carolina, which, as you know, is the capital of my home state. Attorney Jones' practice areas are family law, estate planning, personal injury, business law, and related areas, practicing across multiple counties in the state. North Carolina has 100 counties, for those who don't know that. Her career is marked by a deep commitment to advocacy, client-centered representation, and community empowerment. A graduate of North Carolina Central University School of Law, which for its work in justice, NCCU is considered it is actually the #1 law school in the country for social justice efforts. Attorney Jones is an active member of the North Carolina State Bar and participates in organizations such as the Capital City Lawyers Association and the Durham and Wake County Bar Associations. Outside her legal work, she is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, or AKA as it is called, and is recognized for her dedication to service, mentorship, and uplifting underserved communities. Please join me in welcoming our MC, Attorney Robonetta B. Jones, Esquire, who will even tell you a little bit more about herself later on. Robonetta, it is all yours. Thank you.
You're welcome. And good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. So I am Attorney Robonetta B. Jones, and I am the founder of the law offices of Robonetta B. Jones, PLLC in Raleigh, North Carolina. It is truly my honor to serve as your MC for the very first time for the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund Support Group meeting of 2026, and the first one. As many of you know, this gathering in January always sets the tone for the year ahead. And what a powerful start we are poised to make this evening. Although this is my first time serving in this role with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, I want you to know that the connection is a deeply personal one. Many of you already know my eldest sister, Dr. Vivanti Jones, MD, PhD, who is a physical medicine and rehabilitation physician in Columbia, Missouri, and closely affiliated with both the Rusk Rehabilitation Hospital and the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. She has spoken at the TDJBCF meetings on 3 occasions in the past few years and always shares how warmly she was received. My father, his name is Robert Jones, a true Aggie, proud alumni from A&T State University, was also Miss Thelma's high school classmate. He attends these meetings regularly throughout the year. So while I may be new to this meeting, this community is certainly not new to my family. On behalf of my family, I would like to thank Ms. Thelma for the honor to serve in the special capacity in support of the outstanding mission-driven work she is doing as a full-time advocate and volunteer. I also want to acknowledge humbly and with gratitude the overwhelming support I've received over the past few months, including from Ms. Thelma. Some of you may have followed the recent case I handled in Durham, North Carolina, which was an alienation of affection case that captured national attention. While I'm grateful for the spotlight, what matters most to me is that my client felt seen, heard, and ultimately vindicated. That is the heart of advocacy, lifting others up with compassion, courage, and community support. And that is exactly what the TDJBCF stands for. Now that brings us to tonight's theme, advocacy and balance, strengthening survivorship through community, compassion, and collaboration. This could not be more fitting as we step into a new year with renewed commitment to the mission of supporting survivors, thrivers, families, caregivers, and all those touched by breast cancer. Tonight, we aim to highlight that breast cancer survivorship extends beyond physical healing. It encompasses emotional wellness, community connection, and mutual support grounded in compassion and purpose. This evening, we are tremendously honored to be joined by a nationally respected organization, the National Consortium of Breast Centers. Their acceptance of Ms. Thelma's invitation speaks a volume about the credibility, integrity, and impact of the TDJBCF. When leaders at the national level choose to partner with our community, especially in a grassroots level, it is a powerful affirmation of the work happening right here and now. And of course, we cannot forget our truly amazing community partners, Georgetown University, Lombardi Comprehensive Center, and Links to Equity, organizations and individuals who consistently show up, give generously, and bring expertise, empathy, and enthusiasm. You strengthen this mission every single day. So thank you all, whether you are here on Zoom, on Facebook Live, or watching the recording later, for joining us as we launch into 2026 with purpose and unity. Let's begin this evening's program with a few important housekeeping tips. Please remain muted at all times unless you are speaking to avoid any background noise. During the Q&A, please put your questions in the chat box and our technician and I will gather your questions. Lastly, we have a lot in store in order to end our meeting promptly at 8 p.m. So let's get started. So now, to help us officially get started for our first meeting of the year, I am pleased to introduce our fearless and beautiful, I might add, leader, Ms. Thelma D. Jones, founder, thriver, and advocate of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Ms. Thelma, take it away.
Thank you so much, Attorney Jones, for those warm opening remarks and my introduction. On behalf of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund Board of Directors, I welcome you openly and warmly. The Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund was started first as a support group in 2010, and then we morphed into the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund in 2012 on the 60th anniversary of my birthday. So I'll be testing your math skills throughout the evening. The mission of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is to advocate to advocate and support the overall work that we do to help to reduce the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer. And we do this through outreach, education, and support. Our monthly support group meetings are held every third Wednesday night without fail. Since 2010, having missed only one support group meeting. And I am pleased to say that our support group meetings have reached now more than 20 states and 7 countries. Thanks to our sponsor being in Australia, we have now been in Guatemala, Spain, St. Croix, Jamaica, Mexico, and there's one other that I'm blanking on, but I am so happy that we are reaching out. And because of my ties to the World Bank Group, where I retired from after more than 33 years, we are reaching far more places than we can imagine, because I am often getting emails from or text message from someone who was referred to me and they're in a different part of the world. So I am happy that what we are doing is reaching, saving, and transforming lives globally. But having said that, we take it to heart, our grassroots work that we are doing here in the District of Columbia and specifically in Southwest DC. My community of Southwest DC has the largest concentration of public housing, and it is a community that I love dearly and have worked closely with on a daily or regular basis since as a matter of fact, since I moved to Southwest in 1976. Our signature program is a monthly support group meeting, but we do other things such as speaking engagements throughout the DMV or in other places in the US. And I always love when I get invitations to go to my home state of North Carolina. We participate in walks, we conduct classes, Breast Health 101, and our other important and signature program is serving and distributing meals to seniors and family. We do that every Monday and have been doing that every Monday since the pandemic started, serving 50 to 60 lunches each week, as well as 30 bags of fresh produce, which are delivered to us through our partnership with the Southwest Business Improvement District, who, by the way, will be the sponsors for our February meeting. And they have graciously sponsored our February meeting for now 5 consecutive years in a row. So thank you to our partnership with the Southwest BID. As you can see, I'm passionate about the work that we do, and I probably could go on for a while, but I would like to stop here and pass it back to Attorney Jones. But I would like to acknowledge that Janelle Leonard, who some of you saw me call her at the last minute about 10 minutes ago, has now come on the line, and hopefully Sergio will not have technical problems, but Janelle will be here. Janelle is a triple negative breast cancer survivor who she and her daughter have spoken a number of times on the program. And Janelle is also a technology guru and is known throughout the United States for her expertise and particularly her work that she has done here in the District of Columbia. So thank you, Janelle. I know you were working on a grant, but this is the definition of true friends who put their important things aside to help a friend in despair. So I owe you one, Janelle.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Okay. Robonetta, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Thelma, for your opening remarks, and thank you for the passion and dedication you have for your mission-driven work in saving and transforming lives in the breast health space. We truly appreciate you. Now, advocacy being our focus this evening, having a bit of spiritual meaning is important. I'd like to introduce Karen Hargrove, two-time breast cancer survivor, advocate, and author, who will deliver a prayer of advocacy. And Karen, take it away for us.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, let us pray. Advocacy and balance, strengthening survivorship through community, compassion and collaboration, spirit of compassion and strength, known by many names. We gather today from near and far, united in hope, purpose, and community. As we begin this new year together, bless our efforts to find balance. Balance between giving and receiving, speaking and listening, supporting others, and caring for ourselves. May this balance strengthen every survivor, caregiver, and advocate among us. We give thanks for each person here, for every story carried, and for the courage that brings us into this shared space. May our time together deepen our compassion, enrich our collaboration, and remind us that no one walks this journey alone. For those seeking comfort, may peace surround you. For those seeking strength, may courage rise within you. And for all who champion hope and healing, may clarity and purpose guide your steps. As we move into the year ahead, may our advocacy be rooted in kindness, our community grounded in love, and our work inspired by unity. Amen, and may it be so.
Thank you, Karen, for that loving prayer advocacy. I would be remiss if I didn't share that Karen is not only a TDJBCF ambassador in training, but also the co-author and of a book entitled When Cancer Knocks at Your Door, Fight, Pray, Slay, which some of you have purchased copies of it. And might I add, I love the title of your book. Now we are going to transition into the greetings of our sponsor, Ms. Adams.
Oh, so she's already given them then.
Okay. Ms. Kimberly Samuels is a nationally respected nonprofit and healthcare executive with nearly 3 decades of leadership in breast health. She played a key role in the visioning, design, and development of the Hope Sue and Bill Gross Women's Pavilion and breast cancer in Newport Beach, California. Partnering with the Hope Foundation to help raise $90 million for the project. Kimberly brings a bold, forward-thinking approach to healthcare leadership. For the past 13 years, she has served as executive director of the National Consortium of Breast Centers, where she is recognized for advancing interdisciplinary standards of care, expanding access, and driving patient-centered innovation nationwide. So, welcome, Ms. Samuels, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to pull up my slides here. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about advocacy in action, bridging survivorship, care teams, and community. I want to start by saying, as the executive director of NCBC, I'm honored to be here. We are primarily a medical organization. Advocacy is a focus of our organization. And my role here, my role kind of sits at the intersection of advocacy clinical practice, and systems care. Today, I want to briefly share how NCBC views advocacy, not as a standalone voice, but as a coordinated interdisciplinary component of survivorship. So advocacy and balance. We're talking a lot about balance around here this year. Our conference is focused on balance. We're focused on balance. Obviously, we all need balance. So advocacy is no different. Advocacy works best when it is in balance. At NCBC, we believe that true advocacy balances lives and lived experience of survivors with clinical excellence and system-level accountability. Survivors deserve more than being heard. They deserve structured, coordinated support from diagnosis through survivorship. When advocacy and medicine move together, we care more, we care better. We have a clearer and more effective direction for our patients. You know, a lot of people talk about treating cancer, or we refer to a patient as a breast cancer patient. At NCBC, we look at all people diagnosed with cancer as our soon-to-be survivors. We use the word for our advocacy interchangeably with survivorship. So the role, hopefully, did my slide go? Oh, hold on a second. Hang on, everybody. I'm going through this again. I do not know why it did that. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I love technology. Okay. My PowerPoint just shut off. So hold on a second.
No problem, Kimberly. I'd be happy to fill in and talk while you're doing that so you don't get too frustrated with it. Technology is famous for doing this. This is why I asked Janelle to come on. But the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is, when I say about the conference that we are having in Cleveland, it is because we are a proud member of NCBC. And it is an organization that I've derived a lot of benefits, especially in the vast network that I have been connected to. Some of the people who have spoken, at least 2 people have spoken on my breast cancer support group meeting since becoming a member of NCBC. And I would encourage your organization to consider a membership for the organization. And I'm sure that's something Sylvia and or Kimberly will talk about, so I won't steal their thunder.
Now that I got my PowerPoint up. Sorry about that. So one of the things I wanted to mention, thank you, Thelma, for filling in my gap here, is I just wanted to talk a little bit about NCBC's role in survivorship. Survivors thrive with interdisciplinary care, and there's a lot of organizations like NCBC out there that are focused on medical, the treatment, the education, and all of them are focused on a certain subset of those who are taking care of the patient. So, for example, you have groups like ours that are focused on surgeons or radiologists or nurses. Or even navigators, but none of them focus on the entire care team, not like NCBC does. And a lot of people don't realize that our organization is primarily a non-physician organization. For every 1 physician that is treating a patient or somebody who has survived breast cancer, there's 5 or more non-physicians that are supporting that patient care. So it's very important. NCBC was built on the belief that survivorship comes from improved care teams. We believe that people have better outcomes when they're cared by their entire team and the team works together. We focus on interdisciplinary care to get people to survivorship. And that includes the surgeons, the radiologists, the oncologists, the navigators, the advocates, and the community partners. So I'm here on the behalf of NCBC, but our community partners are also all here on the behalf of the patient. NCBC feels that strong ties with community partners is part of the success of patient care. Survivorship isn't owned by one discipline. It's strengthened when everyone is aligned around the patient. Okay, so a collaboration creates sustainability. For every great program, Thelma has created a great program. Sustainability is obvious in that organization. She's been here for a really long time. But collaboration is how survivorship is scaled. And it's one thing to talk about, providing a survivorship program or survivorship support groups and those types of things. It's a whole nother thing to be able to grow those, to expand outside of your neighborhood, into other areas, cities, states, countries, and that would be called scalability. National organizations, local nonprofits, clinicians, and advocates work together to create scalability, and we duplicate our efforts across the country. Consistent messaging and seamless support across the care continuum is what will provide this time and time again. Reduce fragmentation and safer transitions of care. That's what it does. And remember, not everybody's community is created equal. I hate to say that, right? But we know that that's true. If you go into a really wealthy area, they have different level of care sometimes, and we need to make sure that there is no fragmentation, that there is safer transitions of care when people are in an area where care isn't offered. Say there's a certain type of treatment that isn't offered at your local hospital. It's important that we don't have fragmentation and we get that patient to a hospital that can provide that care. And that's important to NCBC. So we have a strong and mission-driven organization. I would definitely say that anybody who has worked with us at NCBC would agree that we are mission-driven. NCBC is committed to walking alongside survivors and the organizations that serve them. So we want to walk with other organizations that are doing this great work and providing resources that NCBC doesn't provide or even can't provide. When advocacy and medicine move together, survivorship is stronger. And survivorship succeeds when advocacy and clinical care is aligned. We have to remember that those two things need to grow together, reduce barriers. So when national organizations, local nonprofits, clinicians, and advocates collaborate, survivorships receive consistent messaging and fewer gaps in care. NCBC remains committed to walking alongside survivors, the organizations that support them, and the organizations that support them, not in parallel, but together. So with that, I'm going to close. Sylvia, I believe, is going to talk next, but I do want to invite everybody to check out our annual conference, which is coming up in March. Thelma said that, they will be there. We are going to have a great turnout. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do have the Advocacy Symposium, which is right here, and our dear Sylvia is the one and Thelma, who is driving the bus on that one. So please join us. We hope to see you there, and let me know if you have any other questions. Oh, and one more thing, Sylvia will be hosting a webinar coming up too. So keep an eye out for that, and we hope to see you on our webinar.
introduce Miss Sylvia Powers. And Miss Sylvia Powers is the founder of the Celebrating Life Foundation, a nationally recognized breast cancer awareness organization based in Dallas, Texas. A writer, photographer, and public speaker, she has distributed over 1 million breast self-exam cards nationwide and partnered with churches, civic groups, and global organizations in places including the Virgin Islands, Guyana, and the Netherlands. She is the first non-medical person to write about African American women and breast cancer, celebrating life. African American women speak out about breast cancer. Sylvia is the project coordinator for the National Consortium of Breast Centers and oversees the organization's work with advocacy. Welcome, Ms. Powers. We're happy to have you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say that I am excited that Kimberly was able to participate today. Kimberly is the reason that I am involved with NCBC. She has a great vision. Walking beside her has been absolutely amazing. So I am grateful that she could share, because this is a twofold project as far as dealing with the medical side and dealing with advocacy. They're both very, very important, and Kimberly does bring that side as she embraces the support of advocates and breast cancer survivors. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna briefly walk through a slide presentation that I developed to help share about advocacy, because advocacy has been my heart for over 30 years. When I first started working on the book Celebrating Life, African American Women Speak Out About Breast Cancer, I was just doing it as a love project for my aunt who had died from breast cancer. I knew nothing about the disease. And when I did the first interview with the survivor, I was overwhelmed. I was hearing words like stage. I was hearing different medical terms that I didn't understand. So after that interview, I went to the library and I checked out every book that they had on breast cancer. And I began to read. I began to talk to other people. And by the time I finished the book, I was able to help breast cancer survivors walk through their journey. When they didn't understand something, I was able to explain it to them because of the knowledge that I got from speaking to people and from educating myself. And after dealing with the disease for 30 years, I thank God for the knowledge and the power that I've been able to develop as an advocate. Briefly, what I would like to talk to you today is about what is advocacy, bridging the gap by providing resources, the power of advocacy, how our stories become forces of healing, and then also the power of partnership. What is advocacy? Advocacy is the act of actively supporting, promoting, or speaking out for a specific cause, idea, group, or individual to influence decisions, policies, or public opinion, aiming to bring positive change or project or protect rights. And that means that everybody that is listening to the sound of my voice is an advocate. We all have the capacity to be an advocate, to share, to bring about change, even if it's change in our churches, in our families, in our communities. I heard someone talking about one of the sororities. In our sororities, our civic organizations, we all possess that power. And that's why I was so excited when Thelma asked me to speak today about advocacy, because we all have that capability of being advocates. One of the things that I would like to share is that when you work in the community as an advocate, one of the things that you are faced with is that people that are going through breast cancer are always needing resources. So it's important that we learn what's out there so that we can help the community know what is available for financial assistance, medical assistance, treatment, even when it comes to emotional support or such as Thelma's monthly support group when it comes to connecting resources. One of the things that I am grateful that the National Consortium of Breast Centers has done is partner with the Breast Cancer Wellness magazine, which is now run by Pink Fund, which is also a company that provides resources to breast cancer survivors. But there is an annual resource guide. This is the 2026 guide, and that is a compilation. In fact, it is the best, most comprehensive guide for resources that I have seen in the 30 years that I've worked in breast cancer. It has a variety of organizations from legal assistance, medical assistance, financial support, and you can get to that resource by going to the Pink Fund, and it is a free publication, and the resource guide is free, and you can download it to your computer. The other resource that I am excited to say that we've been able to partner with USA Today with Media Planet does a annual breast cancer guide that is produced in October. This year, we were fortunate to have breast cancer survivor Robin Roberts share her testimony. We have some other medical professionals that are associated with NCBC that are part of the guide, and we were happy that the front of the publication does have the NCBC logo. If you would like more information about this particular resource, we will definitely make sure you have that as well. Advocacy is empowerment. As a result of working with NCBC, we do have a monthly advocacy call, which consists of organizations that are doing advocacy work across the country, such as Angels Surviving Cancer, the Celebrating Life Foundation, Fighting Pretty, Women Rock, the Inflammatory Breast Cancer Research Foundation, Lift After Breast Cancer, Making Chemo Bearable, Mammogram Poster Girls, the Pink Fund, Susan G. Komen, Tandy Montgomery, Touch, the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. These are all part of our network. And when I looked at our goal for the conference in March is to have 100 advocates come together. And if those 100 advocates go back and they reach out to 100 people in their community, that means that just that one group was able to reach 10,000 people. When I looked at some of the other advocates' efforts, we recently went to the San Antonio Breast Cancer Conference. That group alone had 100 advocates that represented 110 organizations. The National Breast Cancer Coalition consists of 2,750 advocates. And our sponsor for today is in Australia. The Australian Breast Cancer Coalition has over 120,000 advocates. Your story can be healing. And I've heard so many tremendous stories that have been on this call. As a result of my work with NCBC, we have a forum called the Survivor Soiree, which is at our annual conference. That soiree consists of 40 breast cancer survivors, which it shows their photograph and it also shows their personal testimony about their journey with breast cancer. And as Kimberly mentioned when she ended her presentation, collaboration is important because it reduces the burdens for survivors. Through the power of us coming together, we're able to help make sure that breast cancer survivors know that they're not alone. It is our united force that makes us be stronger. We are stronger together. And I asked, as Thelma has mentioned and Kimberly has mentioned, I ask that you join us in Cleveland. We have put together an amazing program that is going to be inspiring, it's going to be educational, and it's going to be something that you do not want to miss. I'm grateful that we have a special rate for advocates and survivors. It's only $95, either whether you attend the day or you have the opportunity to get all of the medical knowledge that will be at the conference. So we do want you to attend. Thelma will be sharing the link. If you have any other questions about that, please let me know. But I do want to share as I close, one day as advocates, we hope that pink will just be a color. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Ms. Powers. We truly appreciate the presentation, your speech, and showing us how it is important to support this cause. So thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Ms. Kimberly, thank you very much for your service. Thank you for being the executive director of the NCBC. Your work does not go unnoticed. And we want to thank you for all that you do, will continue to do. And we are very grateful to have you here. Thank you so much. All right, so now we are going to transition into the Q&A session. So if you have a question, then I will call your name, and then you can let us know who the question is directed towards. So I have a question already from Miss Small. You're still on mute, Miss Small. We can't hear you.
Good evening, everyone. What I wanted to ask about the work of advocacy, that work takes a lot of hours and take funding. How is it that you find supporters?
I think there are so many ways that you can find supporters. I wanted to say that in my presentation, the work is important, but you can't do it without the resources. And I was happy with Thelma for Giving Tuesday that she raised $10,000. So reaching out, networking, all those are extremely important. And it's I think one of the biggest things is networking, getting out in the community, because once you get out there, you will be surprised. We've gotten support from people that find you on Facebook. They'll see you on social media, and you'll get contacts, you'll get grant opportunities. So I think making yourself known when you do the work and you're doing the work, it opens doors for you to continue to do the work.
Thank you.
Kimberly, if I could ask, because you've done a lot of work in your various leadership capacities, can you just tell us, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that wants to know about the work that you've done with the Hog Sue and Bill Grossman Pavilion and how it has translated to what you are doing now?
Sure, I would love to share about that. That was probably one of the best times in my life working at Hoag Hospital. Thought I would, go into that job and never leave it until, I died, but that didn't happen. And for, good reason, I actually made the change from the hospital into this environment because I worked so many exhaustive hours. And once I had kids, I felt like I couldn't be a mom and have a job. So I chose to work from home and still be a mom and have a job. So, it kind of paid off. But when I was at Hoag, I worked at UCLA first, and then I went to Hoag Hospital, and I was really young in my career. I was willing to work harder than everyone else and do as many hours as possible. And sometimes, it's talent. Other times it's just, work ethic. And I feel like at the beginning of my life, it was mostly work ethic. I was always really good with people. I always had a vision that was bigger than whatever it was I was working on. And I was blessed enough to be on some projects, mainly because I was medically licensed. This is really weird how I got into this, but I had a medical license and I had several of them. And back in that time, you didn't have many licenses, and Hoag was looking to diversify, and they wanted to have outpatient centers that had multiple modalities in them. And they looked at me as an opportunity for them because they could put me in a facility and I could do everything, or they can hire 6 people. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I got the opportunity because of that. And then I ended up designing women's breast centers, outpatient centers, the women's Sue and Bill Growth Center. And it was mainly because I did patient care. I knew what needed to be done for patient care. I knew the workflow. I knew what we needed to accommodate. And so I was able, because I had the trust of my president and the vice president of my hospital, to create something that was just magical. And then from there, I duplicated that over and over again. People still to this day go to the Sue and Bill Gross Center to see that breast center. It was cutting edge in 2006 when I opened it, and it's cutting edge today. That's how advanced it was. So it's a pretty great accomplishment. I will say that working for a hospital, especially a very wealthy hospital, again, there's a difference between, and at that time, I didn't really know the difference. I'll be quite honest. I grew up in Orange County. I went to UCLA, and yes, that wasn't the best, experience. I worked a lot of trauma and, what have you, but I didn't realize how, until I came to NCBC, I didn't really realize how unbalanced care was, because I was in an environment where, we had access to pretty much everything. And I will say that working at a hospital like that was really easy in a lot of ways. It was a lot of work, but we had a ton of resources, and nobody ever said no. I raised $90 million for our breast center. I mean, it was crazy. That's why it's the most advanced breast center even to this day. So, sometimes it's just the circumstance that you're in. And then when I chose to leave the hospital to be a mom first and work, and I started my own business, and then from there I ended up at NCBC. All the skills that I ever had at the hospital needed to apply here at NCBC. Running a nonprofit is the hardest thing you'll ever do. The hardest thing I've ever done. You have very little resource. You have to use all of your talent, no matter if you have it or you don't, you have to find it. And, again, somebody was just asking about funding and money and what have you. It's a struggle. And so, no matter what size nonprofit you are, if you're really doing the work, at the grassroots level or above, it's hard. It's harder than any other thing that you'll do. So, I'm grateful for your question. I feel like sometimes people have a different impression of like where I came from, or, the difference between a hospital and the nonprofit. And I'm still in the medical sector. I'm still in the exact same thing I started doing when I was in my 20s. It's just different work. And this is very gratifying. It's very hard. But it's very gratifying.
And I have one other question, and I know we should move on. But the fact that we got started a bit late, I hope people will bear with us if we go a little beyond 8 p.m., because I think these questions are important. And it's a 2-part one. Kimberly, you talked about patient-centered, and you mentioned a lot about patient care and sort of where it's going. Can you tell us a bit about what NCBC is doing to reach the vulnerable communities, particularly Latina and the African American community? And secondly, can you tell us about some of the training that you have and that will be offered during the conference that sort of ties in with improving patient care?
Yes, I can do both of those. So the first, where do you want me to start? The first question or the second?
The first one.
Okay, so for the first question, NCBC, how we engage the community and how we impact patient care directly is through hospitals and organizations across the country. So our direction
you want to turn it off if you want to get your...
So the way that NCBC focuses, and we've been doing this for over 35 years, is we work through the hospitals and the organizations. So whether it's a community hospital or a private hospital, that doesn't matter to NCBC. We work with everybody. We don't pick and choose. We work with those who want to improve patient care. And we improve patient care through medical professionals, through hospitals, through breast centers, and through quality initiatives. So NCBC has what we call our quality program. It's too much to describe here, but in a nutshell, what it does is for hospitals that perform in our quality program, it measures the success of their structured services. So a hospital, for example, could have a tumor board. They could have a lot of different structural pieces to the puzzle. What our program does is it measures how well those pieces are actually working for the patient. And that's not something that anybody else has or does. And then when you identify a shortfall in an organization, we work with them to help fix that. So here's an example. If you have a hospital that has 5 breast centers and they're all comparing their outcomes and they're measuring their data and they're measuring their quality measures against each other, and say one performs worse than all the others, they're all the same. We can actually figure out why is that other one taking so long to get a patient from diagnosis to biopsy? Why does all the other facilities take 2 days and this one takes 2 weeks, right? So our goal is really by improving patient care through the medical facilities. Now, we're here for advocacy. So as it pertains to advocacy, our goal 100% is to bridge the gap between the patient's voice, the advocates, and the medical professional. So our focus with advocacy is just that. You know, what do our communities need? We want to hear what those issues are, and we want to work with their local NCBC facilities, and we want to bridge that gap. So hopefully that answers that. Is there more?
Thank you. Now, I think that's very helpful to me and to others as well. Okay.
And I know that some of that stuff doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the advocates, because it's the programs that the hospitals and the breast centers and the medical professionals and the nurses and the navigators all participate in. But I think it's really important that people know that those things happen behind the scenes. And I think it's even more important for people and advocates like yourself to know that not every hospital participates in that stuff. They don't. It's very few and far between. There's over 8,000 breast centers in the United States alone, and less than 2,000 of them actually participate actively in improving their patient outcomes like that. And then you asked about the conference. Did I lose her?
No, she's there. And then she also has some hands up.
Oh, okay. Do you want to, I could take some questions on that and then I can go to the conference if you'd like. Is there somebody that wants to ask a question?
Okay, we have Miss Love. Would you like to ask a question?
Hi. So this is my first meeting, and I'm an areola artist, tattoo artist in Akron. So I'm super excited because I just found out about the conference, and I've been looking for ways to become a better advocate. So I love the simplicity of advocacy and not making it like kind of too overwhelming, but trying to figure out where I can have that space. So I guess any tips that you have for us who are looking to get into that space. And like I said, I think I'm going to register for the conference coming up in March.
Yeah, I think you actually reached out to me, didn't you, about the conference? Yeah, I emailed you back. So we can definitely talk. Hopefully you did get my email. And we would love to have you. I think it would be a great space, not just for our medical professionals, but we have a big advocacy group there. And that is something that, it would be good to have, a reference and be able to see somebody's work and have hospitals and medical professionals be able to refer business for that. It's definitely something that's needed. It's talked about with every patient that does reconstruction. So hopefully that helps. For our programs at the hospital. Oh my goodness. At the conference, we have a 2-day conference, and our conference is truly interdisciplinary. So we have education for the entire team, whether you're a technologist, a navigator, a surgeon, a radiologist, a medical oncologist, or go on, so on and so forth. Survivorship, advocacy. We do have some special workshops that happen on Monday. There is an advocacy symposium, which is phenomenal. The talks this year are amazing. Sylvia and Thelma did a great job. That is just a fun environment to be in. And then we also have leadership training. We have cancer genetic risk assessment, navigation training. We have a program called clinical breast management, and NCBC, we focus mostly in the breast center and oncology space, but we're trying to reach the referring physician more because that's kind of where things need to start. They need to know when to, get a patient into, imaging and when it could be something that's benign. So we are doing a big training on that for referring physicians and so on and so forth. We do have a great welcome reception that will be happening. It will feature the Advocates Soiree. It's unbelievable. That's Sylvia's baby. We're going to do some screening of films of Love Danielle, and we're looking right now to also do a second screening for In Flamingo, but again, we're trying to raise funds for it. So there's just a lot happening, and NCBC does include our advocates in the medical lectures. So some organizations don't do that. You're invited to attend your program, but they don't let you go to the doctor's type programs. And NCBC, we allow you to do both.
Okay, and I believe we have another question from Karen.
Hello again. Let me do my video. So both presentations were awesome. I love attending these support meetings because I walk away with a wealth of information, and I'm not part of a major platform per se, but what I do is I take information and I share it with those cancer survivors that are in my circle or through my church. And this is very, welcoming. My question, though, I think was to, what's her name? Maybe Miss Sylvia, about the pink guide and how do we get that resource?
I will actually put it in the chat. If you go to their website, the Pink Fund, the resource guide, it's supported by the Breast Cancer Wellness Magazine. That is also a free publication, and NCBC does supportive editorial articles every issue for that publication. But the resource guide, when you click on the Breast Cancer Wellness Magazine on their website, the guide is up in the upper right-hand corner, and you just click on that and you can download it, and it's totally free, but I'm going to put that in the chat.
Question is for Ms. Kimberly. When is the deadline to register for the conference?
We'll take registrations on site. We don't
Oh,
force anybody to do it at any particular time. However, I will say if you're traveling to Cleveland, we do have a great housing block and it is limited. This isn't Vegas anymore. And so Vegas has like unlimited rooms, but Cleveland, they don't. So I'd highly recommend if you want to come, even before you book your registration, don't lose out on the room block. It's that would be bad.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like we could spend another 10 or 15 minutes, but we are going to move on and I'm going to turn it. So thank you again, Kimberly and Sylvia. This was a wealth of information, as you can see from the robust question and answer session. But we're going to turn it back over to Robonetta, our MC, so that we can hear from our other wonderful partners.
Thank you very much for everyone participating in the Q&A session. So now I am going to introduce Miss Alejandra, excuse me if I said it incorrectly, Dr. Alejandra Hurtado D. Mendoza. She is a tenured associate professor in the Cancer Prevention and Control Program at Georgetown University's Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center. A bilingual social psychologist trained in anthropology and communication. She focuses on addressing disparities in genetic risk assessment for underdeserved and high-risk populations. Her research spans translational genomics, behavior interventions, and culturally targeted communication strategies. She has led several studies funded by the National Institute of Health to increase the use of genetic counseling and testing in Latina women and Black women at risk of hereditary breast and ovarian cancer. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mendoza, and we are very grateful you are here. You can take it away now.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and good night, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and to learn so much in these support group meetings. And today I want to introduce two of the youngest Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Support Group
That's so cute.
members and advocates. So,
Hola, Diego.
Andrés y Diego.
Hola.
Hola,
Hola,
Andrés.
Andrés, Diego.
Hola. So they have been in these sessions, I think, since they were born. Bye-bye. So I just wanted to introduce it. Hola. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. My mom. So that is their contribution. My. Say good night. Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. So I have the privilege of working with Ms. Jones and the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund on several research studies across the breast cancer prevention and control continuum. And this includes studies to expand the rates of mammography maintenance and also cancer genetic counseling and testing, a study to test the impact of a peer-led survivor coach intervention in empowering newly diagnosed breast cancer survivors, to communicate with the doctors and to state their preferences and adhere to treatment. Also, a study to test acupressure as a strategy to improve quality of life for African American and Latina cancer survivors. And lastly, a study about COVID-19 to enhance the information and education about COVID-19 for African American and Latina breast cancer survivors. And today I am very excited to share some updates about this last study. So I'm going to get ready to share my screen. So we know that African American and Latina women face a disproportionate burden in the COVID-19 pandemic. And the African American and Latino populations were among the groups that suffered the worst economic impact. The COVID-19 pandemic also had a very big impact on the physical and psychological well-being of breast cancer survivors. And African American and Latina breast cancer survivors were more likely to experience COVID-19 treatment delays. So in this context and in the midst of the pandemic, we were very lucky to partner with the Thelma Jones Breast Cancer Fund and Nueva Vida, and we obtained a grant from Georgetown Howard University's Center for Translational Science to evaluate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on Black, African American, and Latina breast cancer survivors' physical, psychosocial, and financial well-being. And this study was conducted between 2020, December, and March 2021. So it was like midst of the pandemic. We interviewed 84 participants who were breast cancer survivors and completed surveys to understand what was their emotional well-being, financial impact, what were their sources of information. And then among those 84 participants, we interviewed 40 of them so that we could understand better what were their experiences during the pandemic, and also to gather their suggestions on how to develop education materials around COVID-19. So what we found is that the pandemic had a very big impact as breast cancer survivors in terms of women reporting being scared of going to the doctor at the hospital, delayed or hard to schedule appointments. And as I was mentioning, this was more the case for these populations. There was mixed feelings about telehealth. There was a very rapid switch to telehealth. And while some did appreciate the convenience of telehealth, especially during the pandemic, for others it was challenging as like missing the in-person touch with the doctor. But also there were some participants who didn't have the platforms to conduct the telehealth appointments, or that worked in jobs where they could not access their phones during the day, so they could not attend to those appointments. And I think this points to the fact that sometimes when there is medical advancements or there's switches or changes in the healthcare delivery system, if there's not enough attention paid to disparities may increase. We also found that 70% of the participants reported that at least one family member of their household was an essential worker, and 55% lost their job during the pandemic and reported food insecurity. So you can see the very, very big impact. You see here in one of the quotes, "For me, the pandemic has not been positive at all. First of all, I lost my job. Since I lost my job, my landlord took me out of where I lived. Thankfully, since I work in Virginia, I had a colleague there. But I didn't have much time. I was also dealing with cancer." So you can imagine during the pandemic, somebody with a breast cancer diagnosis, losing their jobs, having food insecurity, and being kicked out of where they live. This is another quote from another participant talking about their experience during the appointments. "I was nervous to go to my appointments. Even though I knew I needed to go, I had to get my mammogram done. And that, even when I had my surgeries last year, that was difficult because it was terrifying being at the hospital." So again, you can see the very big impact and all the delays in the treatment and also in diagnosis that the pandemic provoked. We also learned that 65% of women did not have access to information about COVID-19 specifically for breast cancer survivors, and that's where we thought that we could fill a gap. So based on all the feedback and suggestions that we learned from this work, and in collaboration with the Thelma Jones Breast Cancer Fund and Nueva Vida, we developed an educational website. As you can see here, some of the screenshots. The website was called Empowering Breast Cancer Survivors During COVID-19 Pandemic, and it had a lot of information around COVID-19, around vaccines, and specifically about COVID-19 for survivors. So you can see here in the midst of the pandemic, when the healthcare systems were struggling, the participants relied in the community-based organizations like the Thelma Jones Breast Cancer Fund that had the trust. They were the trusted sources of information. And in the website, we feature, here is Ms. Jones, Ms. Bill, and also Ms. Ana Quijada from Nueva Vida as really important role models in sharing their testimonies and also getting vaccinated. You can also see in the second one how, since there was this knowledge gap about COVID-19 and breast cancer, so we included information from the NCI, but conveyed in a way that was easier to understand. So these academic community partnerships are the bridge, are absolutely key to advance research and to make sure that research is responsive to the needs of the community, as the community organizations are the trusted sources. They're the bridge between research and the community. And the collaboration with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund and Nueva Vida was absolutely key and crucial to develop the website that was responsive to the needs of the community. You can see here, this was our celebratory dinner once we launched the website after a lot of work. So this brings like really, really fun memories. And I'm very excited to also share with everyone, and I also want to thank the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. I know a lot of the members participated in this research. So we recently published a paper about the impact of COVID-19 in the Journal of Health Psychology that it was, I think, published now in January. And we also published an article in the Southwestern describing and reporting the results from this work. And this is really important because it's not only important to disseminate to academic audiences, but it's equally important to disseminate to the community. And we thank Ms. Jones for that as well. And we're planning to submit another paper that is describing the process of developing the website, that we're hoping we will be submitting it in the next month. Finally, to conclude, I just want to express my gratefulness for the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund and to Ms. Jones for their continued support and to ensure that research benefits all populations equally. And with that, I want to thank everybody.
I think that was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. We truly appreciated you speaking tonight, and the PowerPoint was amazing, and your son is adorable. So thank you again, Dr. Mendoza. All right, next I am going to introduce Miss Deanna Darlington. Now, Ms. Darlington is an advocacy relations professional with more than 25 years of experience in patient advocacy, government affairs, and health equity. She specializes in working with patient advocacy organizations on policy, access, and disparities affecting vulnerable communities. After serving in senior roles at Amgen and other biotechnology companies, she founded Links to Equity in 2021 to advance health equity across diverse populations, including Black, Latina, Asian, Pacific Islanders, LGBTQ, rural and Asian communities. She previously served as the first reimbursement specialist for the American Society of Clinical Oncology. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Darlington, and the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that very kind introduction. And Sergio, I'm going to be lazy. If you pull up the slide deck, I'll walk us through. But while we're waiting on Sergio to pull that up, I'll just, I'm going to try to...
One moment.
Oh, sure. I'm just going to kind of kick us off so we're not, we can stay on time. I'm just would like to acknowledge and thank Ms. Thelma Jones for allowing me to be a presenter this evening. It's always an amazing experience for me to participate in any of the events that Thelma has. So thank you so much for inviting me in this kickoff meeting of the year. And thank you also for having this great topic of advocacy. We've heard a lot tonight about what advocacy means, and my presentation is going to focus on the impact of community partnerships and what does that mean from an advocacy standpoint. So as Sergio pulls up the deck, we'll kick it off. Much, Sergio. Okay, so I'll jump in, and I'll just again thank Thelma for the kind introduction, allowing me to be a part of this meeting this evening. And I'm going to focus on the importance of community partnerships' role in advocacy. Next slide, please, Sergio. Okay, so why does community partnerships matter? Well, I think that we've heard tonight that, from my perspective, I believe they're the foundation and core of what it means to have advocacy. As we sit here this evening, and look at the mission of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, we know that outreach is key for the organization, education, support, a collective commitment to community. And to me, that all equates to advocacy. So tonight we are actually living and breathing advocacy in this session that we're in this evening, and really learning how to be the best advocates, but also tapping into community to ensure that we're touching the lives that are next to us. So but from that perspective alone, I think that community really speaks to the real essence of the word advocacy. Oftentimes folks can say that advocacy may just be a supplemental, an add-on, adjunct to advocacy when you think about advocacy impacting policy, impacting research dollars. But the type of work that we're doing from an advocacy standpoint, it really impacts lives and partnerships and community that we're bringing together to really advocate for women living with breast cancer, but also our survivors and our thrivers as well. Do amazing work and significant work. But what I did see was a tremendous gap, and that there wasn't that same level of outreach and engagement with community-based organizations like the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. And those groups are critical. So based upon that gap that I saw, it was really an instrumental and pivotal point for me to decide to start my own consulting firm and really begin to educate and show the importance of community engagement and the impact on advocates that communities bring into this space. So that's why I'm here today, and I founded Links to Equity. So Sergio, can we move ahead probably maybe 2 slides? I'm on the why I founded Links to Equity. Next slide. Next slide. So I'll talk a little bit about, I shared with you my journey, sort of how I got to where I am. I saw the gap, and that's ultimately why I founded Links to Equity. It was created to really address the gap by resourcing community organizations to sustainably deliver education, awareness, and support. But also, a huge goal of what we do at Links to Equity is also to educate and inform industry partners such as pharmaceutical, biotech organizations of the importance of community advocacy organizations and the gaps that's missing there, but also the value of those organizations and how they really do impact advocacy, and how we're really missing out as a whole by not sponsoring them and supporting them in the way that they should be, so that they can continue the great work that they do. Next slide, please. So community advocacy and practice, what does that all mean? And I think that, again, I'm at the perfect event this evening. When I look at the work that Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund do, you can't look at her website without seeing the work, or even hear her speak and talk about, bringing groceries to various communities, concern about the transportation and how are they getting to their appointments, bringing disease education and awareness, and even having the space that we have this evening, the safe space to actually share our journey, talk about the importance of advocacy, and really engage a much broader community to have this dialogue. And from that, we know that advocacy is really human-centered work. And the work that Thelma does on a day-to-day at a community level really taps into that human-centered space. Community organizations support people emotionally, socially, and informationally. They are a shoulder to lean on, they're an ear to listen to, and they really provide that human-to-human support that leads to the great advocacy work that they lead. Next slide, please. So beyond just providing that advocacy, I think that the great space that Thelma D. Jones work that occurs really supports us at a very basic level. It's very rare that you'll attend a meeting of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund where you don't hear about clinical trial research or being connected to trusted resources in our community. Also, as I mentioned, for providing those resources to neighborhoods and to community, something as basic as groceries. This organization delivers in that space, and again creates that human-to-human connection that really speaks to what advocacy is really all about. Next slide, please. So I would ask us all to sort of redefine advocacy through partnership and sort of reimagine how we define advocacy. From my perspective, I think that organizations like the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, they really focus on the relationship. They focus on community. And it's not a transactional sort of relationship. It's really based on being kind and being a shoulder to lean on, a ear to listen to as they're engaging various stakeholders at a community level. So I ask that we all sort of think about reframing how we look at advocacy and consider a long-term relation building effort. The key to this reframing is really the importance of those trusted community messengers like Thelma, and sustaining the investment in community and organizations like the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Next slide, please. So as we look ahead to 2026, I'd love for us to consider the importance of centering our community voices, the importance of listening to our community and strengthening our local partnerships, and the resources, and to resource those patient advocacy or community-based organizations so that they can continue to lead. And I encourage all of us to a continued commitment to community-driven advocacy and shared responsibility for building equitable outcomes. Thank you for the opportunity for the conversation, and thank you so much for the focus on advocacy and what that means at a community level.
Thank you so much for that amazing presentation, Ms. Deanna Darlington, and thank you for founding the Links to Equity. That is an amazing organization, and we are very grateful to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And next, we will have some announcements by the founder, Ms. Thelma D. Jones.
Thank you, Attorney Jones, and thank you again, Alejandra and Deanna, for being wonderful partners in the space. Our work would not be as successful as it is if we didn't have partners like Georgetown, Lombardi, and Link to Equity, and of course, even national organizations like NCBC, which I am very proud to be a member of, and hope that tonight some of you will again, and no, I'm not getting paid to promote NCBC other than, for those of you who know me, I share positive things freely and regularly. So please consider the organization, and please consider joining us in Cleveland in March. Just as Kimberly and Sylvia has indicated, it's going to be a really exciting time, and it's one of those events you do not want to miss. I want to acknowledge a few other people who are on the call that I am honored to see, namely one of our ambassadors, Regina Bly, who is, I'm assuming, in Austin, Texas. Regina, along with Sherry Dinkerson Trott, an ambassador, and Vivanti Jones have been three great speakers annually in our November meetings where it is specifically focused on breast cancer survivors with disabilities and disabilities in general. And Kimberly, that was one of the other questions that I had wanted to ask also, was to talk about what NCBC was doing in that space, but we did run out of time. So we'll have to invite you back so that we can really quiz you on a lot of other wonderful things that NCBC is doing. I also want to acknowledge Roberta Bell, a breast cancer survivor and a retired nurse with Howard University Hospital. Roberta has been a staunch supporter. One of the other things that I want to talk briefly about is the voices of Black women. How many of you have heard about the study, Voices of Black Women? Okay. And if you're not on my distribution list, everybody else, I really would expect you to have raised your hand because I've sent out a lot of information on the American Cancer Society, Voices of Black Women. So very briefly, it is an observational study. And basically what ACS wants to do is to find out why African-American women like me are dying at a much greater rate. ACS is also looking at why we are at the top of the charts on a lot of the chronic diseases. So to find out, we need your support. If you're between the ages of 25 and 55, and see, because I'm 73, I missed it just a tad bit, but I do have a voice that I can advocate to help ensure the word is out about Voices of Black Women and that you sign up for it. I won't go into all of the details of that, but I will share with you that the website for Voices is voices.cancer.org, and I am proud to be a trained ambassador for the Voices of Black Women. And if you are interested in the study or would like to know more about it, please consider logging on to that website or emailing me, and I would be happy to spend as much time as you need to learn more in depth about this important study. Just remember, we are dying and we're topping the charts in a lot of diseases. So in order to change the paradigm shift about that, we need your support. If you are not eligible because either you're too young or you're like me, you just missed the age by a few months, you help to promote the study to make sure those who are eligible can participate. And basically, with the exception of squamous cell cancer, you are eligible to participate in the study. And our next meeting is on February the 18th. It's our annual Black History Study where we've always, or for the past 10 years or more, focused on men's health, including behavioral health and breast cancer in men, which is growing. So for the men in your lives, whether it's your father, brother, uncle, cousin, stepbrother, half-brother, whole brother, your colleagues, neighbors, or your church members, we really encourage you to share that meeting with the men that you know, and not just men, or that meeting is not limited to men only. We want women to come as well because they often will carry the voices of men when they do not want to go to the doctor to see what's really up with them. So again, that meeting is February the 18th. It's via Zoom, and we are proud that the Southwest Business Improvement District will be sponsoring that meeting for the 5th year in a row. I think that's about all of the announcements that I have. I will be sending out more announcements tomorrow on my distribution list. So please consider logging on to my website, tdjbreastcancerfund.org, to catch up with what's going on. And I know Attorney Jones will thank all of our speakers, but I will do a broad thank you to all of our wonderful speakers, and especially to Sylvia Powers, who has been on every one of our meetings for the past 8 or 9 months religiously. And so it's through her efforts and our collaboration that we were able to deliver the fearless leader, Kimberly Samuels, and to hear more about NCBC. So I will turn it back to you, Attorney Jones.
I want to say thank you, everyone, for attending the meeting and being in support of this great cause. So thank you, Thelma D. Jones, for being the founder of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. And you are the reason that we are here. So thank you for that. Also, I want to send a special thanks to Miss Jan Adams for being here. Miss Sylvia Powers, thank you very much. Dr. Mendoza, thank you for your wonderful presentation. Miss Darlington as well. We really appreciate you being here. Kimberly Samuels, you gave a great presentation as well. It was my first time as the MC, but I have enjoyed myself. This is a great and amazing cause. And this will not be my last meeting. So thank you for having me, Miss Thelma D. Jones, and I will be back.
Thank you, everybody.
I just want to interject something really quick. Number one, we are very grateful. This is a very peak time for Kimberly Samuels, who is Executive Director of NCBC. To be able to get her to have this type of time and to share was just absolutely amazing. And then I want to thank Thelma D. Jones. I mean, she talked about not being paid, or jokingly said she wasn't paid, but in all honesty, she has been relentless. I had to decide who would be the co-chair for the advocacy committee, and it was a really difficult decision. As you saw, all of the advocate groups that we work with, I could not have made a better choice. When you talk about volunteering as an advocate, we had to meet bi-weekly and go over all kinds of ideas and vet speakers. And she was just there for every single step, and not just on our group, but we had to go to the main session and deal with all of the speakers and the whole process. And she was there relentlessly. So I am just grateful. Just on this call, we've gotten somebody that's interested in our poster abstract. We've gotten attendees that are interested, and we got a potential exhibitor just from this call. So we don't take that lightly. And when you talk about advocacy, it is collaboration, it is partnership. She's partnered with us, we're partnering with her, and we are committed to making a major difference. So thank you, Thelma D. Jones.
Thank you, Sylvia.
I definitely agree. The effort is always there, and it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say, and I went off mute. This is a sign of a good meeting when a meeting has gone almost 30 minutes over and people are still finding enthusiastic things. System keeps going to mute. Maybe it's because it's trying to tell me it's time to stop talking. But I wasn't joking when I said I am a non-paid leader of an organization, and I have a board member, Scarlett Small, who's on the line, who can attest that this is all about passion. So thank you again, everyone. And good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks again for having us.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.